Hi, and welcome to a Small, Medium, at Large podcast. I'm your host, Gail Heisen, bringing you intimate stories that heal. Today, I want to thank all our guests for subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting, and joining us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and all the other podcast sites that we're sharing our shows with. Today, we have a returning guest who was with us about a year ago named Donna Rebadow. Donna is a returning guest and author of her first book, which was just released on Amazon, Wednesdays with Sadie, the Miracle Dog. Donna is one of 100 people who is a licensed sport medicine acupuncturist who has done amazing healing work with many people, including Major League Baseball stars. She is also a podcaster, jewelry and coin maker, and musician with 30 years of experience as a community college professor. On our last show, she described her near-death experience from drowning. She's an amazing spoon bender, and we bend spoons together on that episode. Today, we will talk about her new book about her 78-pound German Shepherd, Sadie, who lived a remarkable, heroic life working with Donna as a pet therapy team in a hospital in Phoenix, Arizona. Donna has a new website that I'm going to tell you how to contact or reach her. Is called Exploring Consciousness with Donna. Exploring Consciousness can be found at ExploringConsciousness.com. When you view that website, you'll be able to find information on her jewelry making, her remote viewing, her other podcasts, her shows she's been on, as well as the shows she's producing herself. There's a lot of wonderful information there, and I highly suggest you go see her website. So today, let's welcome Donna here. Hi, Donna.
Hi, Gail. Sadie and I, thank you for having us on your show. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Well, we are very happy to have you here, and I must tell our listeners on a personal note that after meeting Donna and Sean McNamara, our guest prior to this show, I went out to Colorado to meet both of them, and we had the most wonderful, wonderful connection and time together. I know on the last show we spoke about this piece of jewelry and the apport that I'm wearing that Sean had come with, but I just want to thank Donna on our show here again for making this beautiful piece and putting it together, and it's a great memory of our time. So podcasting is not only reaching out to people I don't know, but it's also me getting to know new people and bringing them into my life. So I'm very grateful for the podcast and for meeting people like you, Donna.
Well, Gail, the pleasure was mine. We had such a great time, Sean, you and I. I'm so glad that you came out to Colorado. Thank you so much.
I was so happy too. And I got to meet your other dogs, Cinnamon and Kylea, and your family and friends. And it was really a wonderful time. So while I was there, you were just finishing up your book, your new book. And I had the pleasure of seeing the cover, etc. there. But I want to just show you now that you can purchase this yourself on Amazon. And what a gorgeous, beautiful dog Sadie is in this photo. So I want to start at the beginning of this, which is, can you describe how you met Sadie and what your work with her was before you became a therapy team together?
Sure. I had just lost my other German Shepherd, Ruffian, and so I had a little hole in my heart, but I've always loved German Shepherds. I wasn't looking for a dog, and my best friend and I were heading into a shopping store at a mall. And out of the corner of my eye, I see these German Shepherds, and I see, I didn't even say anything to Mary Lou. I just turned and went, and I went, "What's going on here?" So they had a table set up with brochures and pictures of puppies, and they had a guide dog there, and I got to meet the trainers, and I had to change their name for the book, so I don't want to. I can't remember what I called them in the book, but the dog trainer could tell I was a sucker. So he knew. So it was like 110 degrees out in July, and Mary Lou's roasting. And I'm talking to this guy as if it was, like 50 degrees out or something, just talking and talking. He said, "Would you like to be a guide dog trainer?" Oh, no, no, no. I just lost my German Shepherd. I can't. I'm too busy, blah, blah, blah. All the excuses. And he goes, "Well, do me a favor, which of these puppies do you like?" And my eyes went right to Sadie. Now, this is this little puppy, and she had a white collar on. And I'm staring at her, and I turned and I said, "Okay, let me think about it. But if I become a trainer, this puppy I have to train." And he said, "You bet." Mary Lou rolls her eyes and goes, "I'm dying here. Let's get in the store." So I grabbed he said I could have the photo and put it on my fridge. Then we went into the store, got home, I put it on the fridge, and I swear this dog was talking to me every single day. Like, "Hey, Donald, what do you think?" So that's how we met. And Mary Lou and I talked, and I had a student in my class that was blind, and I thought, what if I trained a guide dog and I could give it to my student? That really appealed to me. So Mary Lou gave in. I had to give her $1,000 in order for us to do this. And so that's how I became a guide dog trainer.
And can you tell us what the process was for you to apply to become
Oh,
a dog trainer? Because when I read this in your book, one of the things that I was fascinated by and had no idea was that the person who trains the dog has to pay so much money for so many. It's like the complete care. It's really like a scholarship for the dog comes from the person who's training, and you
yes.
don't get anything back for that except for knowing that you've created a dog that will help others. So when a person's doing this, I'd love for them to know the whole. I didn't had no idea how involved it was to become a dog trainer for
Well,
the.
there's lots of different seeing guide dog schools in the United States, and each one of them is different and independent. So our particular school wasn't really a notable school. They had to do a lot of fundraising. So they asked the puppy raisers, they come over and they look at your house and they do a whole application. You have to write out an application. They have to check out your house. You have to sign that you know that this is not your dog and that you are responsible for 90% of the cost of the dog. And they have to okay your home, make sure it's not like a one bedroom apartment. They want to make sure you have a gated, you have a backyard, it's gated, it's locked, the dog will be safe. And then they take your application and then they call you and they said, "Yes, we approve you." And you go on down, you go down to the facility, and they tell you all the things that you need. You need the crate, a new dish, everything that you need to bring a puppy home, and the special food you have to follow. There's special diet for the dogs. And so this, at the time, we did Dr. Billingsley bones and raw food diet. So Gail, we bought a refrigerator and put it in the garage, and we called it the dog's refrigerator because we had to put all the bones and raw food in there because some of it was like parts of animals that we don't usually eat, but the dogs do.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, so we still have our dog's refrigerator in our garage.
And
Yeah. So
also there's all the veterinary
all
bills.
the veterinary bills, yeah, just about everything. And when we were doing it, it was like it was okay. We understood, and we knew we were helping someone. And I just kept thinking about my student. So someone has to step up to do this work, and I just feel like, okay, it's our turn to do this work.
Well, that was a wonderful commitment, and wonderful that you have a friend like Mary Lou who was
Oh
willing
my gosh.
to support and help you in that, because it really takes a village to raise a dog with this much. They have a schedule of how they have to be cared for in order to train them properly. So
Yes, you have to, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the training and what that was like between the different color coats of jackets they wear and how they have to behave and what difficulties you might have had? I think I've been one of those people you wrote about in the book, and you said, "We said not to pet the dog. What are you doing?" I would have been that one who accidentally pet the dog because they're like, "Oh." So I was wondering if you could share that,
Yeah,
and
it opened a
I'll be
whole
a better behaved guide dog lady later.
yeah, we had no idea. This was opening a new world to us, the guide dog world. And when you pick up your puppy, you get an orientation, just some basic stuff, and they make sure that the collars are correct, the leashes are correct. You get the puppy, and then you get a vest that they wear, and it says iDog Foundation, Guide Puppy in Training, and it's blue. And you have to commit to one Saturday a month. And but they train on 2 Saturdays. So Mary Lou and I decided, Mary Lou's my best friend. She's really a remarkable human being. And she said, let's go for two. We'll go both Saturdays because this is new to us. And so the trainer, the man I met at the parking at the shopping mall, uh, and his wife come out, and they start teaching us, because really you're training the human being. It's really, and they taught us how consistent we had to be in the exact steps we had to go through. And I never trained a dog like this. And so they taught us how to, we get to we get to choose their name. And a lot of the guide dog schools, they don't, but we get to choose. So I was a community college professor at the time. I told our whole school they couldn't wait to see this puppy because they knew she'd be on campus every single day. So I held a contest on what would you like our dog to be named. And so we came down to 5 names. And when I got her home, I had to use, try the different names. The first name, no, she won't look, she would react. We get down to the fifth name, and I go, Sadie. And she turned like, yeah, yeah, I'm here. What would you like? I'm Sadie. Well, okay, well, you're Sadie. Right? So we had to tell the whole school, and we had to send out the rules to everyone at the school too. Like, the only time you can pet Sadie is when she's off. She's got her vest off, because we were trying to teach her, when your vest goes on, you're now a working dog. And Sadie picked it up in like 2 seconds. When we put that vest on this dog, she was a totally different dog. She was like, "Okay, mom, let's go." So we had to learn how to say her name, and you wait till she turns. You have to wait, and you have a treat already, and whatever the command is, like just saying her name, Sadie, you give a treat when she turns immediately. So the timing, we had no idea about the timing for these dogs. So we had to go through this with her name. The first command, sit, and you have to do a demonstration because they don't know what sit is. So I say, Sadie, she turns, I say, sit, and then I immediately help her demonstrate for her, okay, this is what it means. And then you do about 1,000 of those. Sit, sit, sit.
Very
Not
patient.
all at once, until the next Saturday. So I would tell people around campus, when you get a chance, say her name and then tell her to sit. So we did all this through sit, down, calm, stay, heel. And those are the commands that are going to help her build a foundation to help these particular husband and wife train. They do the advanced training. And so we just make them a good dog, an obedient dog, and it's up to dogs in the background.
Yes, Bruno.
Just Bruno just came in. So Sadie's here, so Bruno and Sadie are talking.
Yes.
That's funny. And so yeah, so there's a lot of positive reinforcement, which means you're reinforcing the behavior you want with giving them a treat or praise. Sadie wasn't really treat motivated, like some of the Labradors are. Sadie was very praise oriented. She just loved to, when you said good dog, she just really loved that. So we went through all this training. And so in the book, I really explain the step-by-step process of how you do all that. And since she goes everywhere, you have to then think about, where is she going to sit? So if you go into a restaurant, I don't know if you ever looked under a table in a restaurant, but people could throw down, kids with food and
Right.
napkins and whatever. So we started bringing what we call a Sadie diaper bag. So it was a backpack and it had a towel so we could put on the floor, and she began to know that when we put the towel on the floor, she can go lie there no matter where we went. And then we had water dishes, poop bags, stuff like that.
It's like taking a small child with you somewhere.
Yes.
It's everything they
Yeah.
did. And am I right to say that, which is what I think I understood in the book, when this dog is in training, this dog gets to go and must go with you everywhere and has permission because of the special blue coat.
Yes, we have in Arizona, we have a statute that allows us, the guide dog trainers, and the dog is in training, that they're allowed to go to any public place in the state. The only place we can't go is a private area. So if someone had a private office or where the public couldn't go, we would have to ask permission to go there. And in her blue coat, we put in that um, the guide dog school laminated the little statute for us. And so we could pull the statue out of her blue coat and say, we're protected by Arizona statutes that we're allowed to come in here. So, yeah, that was really important.
There was one story I was hoping you could share about when you
Okay.
took her to a sporting event. She seemed to when I read this book, after now knowing you personally, there were so many things about Sadie that kept telling me, this is her sister. This is these two are connected at the hip. They're both similar beings, high achievers, collecting tremendous amounts of awards. We'll talk about later about the awards Sadie received. But all I kept thinking was, this is like a mirror. This may be a dog, but it's really either Donna's from the dog world or Sadie's from the human world. But these two people really match each other. So if you could talk about, and we of course know that you're involved in sports before you retired, you were treating baseball stars. So could you talk about the sporting events that Sadie went to?
Of course, we went to sporting events because I think what you just said was true. I'm not sure we kind of were melded together, I think. So we took her to the Arizona Cardinals game, and we only got to go to one of those games, but I think you're talking about the baseball games. So
Yes.
we were season ticket holders for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And it was at a time when we had a pitcher by the name of Randy Johnson. And he's like, I don't know how tall he is, like 6'10". And so we were allowed to go into the handicap seating, even though we were season ticket holders. And this section and the ushers, they know us and they just loved her. So we had to bring extra treats for the ushers and the people around us. So we went there and, I put we had the diaper bag and I put the towel down and she laid down and she looked out into the field. She didn't watch backwards like the people walking by, which I thought she might, but she kept looking out at the field. And I'm like, Sadie, what are you doing? You like baseball? Okay. So the only time she really watched a player go from the dugout to the mound was Randy Johnson. And even though he's tall, when you're that far up, I didn't think there was that big of a difference. But she would watch him walk to the pitcher's mound, watch him pitch, and watch him walk back to the dugout. And she didn't do this with any other player. So she was in love with Randy Johnson. So I bought Randy Johnson, jersey, and I would wear it. So I say, yeah, watch her look at Randy Johnson. So yeah, she enjoyed sports a lot.
I just think that's wonderful because that was part of your world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, uh, how did you end up getting her? Because she was not, she was on the road doing you had a year of training with you. She was then to go on to the professional guide dog trainer, not you two. And what happened in all this process? I know it involved a trip to Italy and all kinds of things. So I'd like you to share what went on in this.
What went on?
How did she get into her next, groove?
So we had her, you have them for about 9 months and you do the training, and then the instructors will tell you what her not her turn in date, but her physical date. And so at about 9 months old, they bring her in and they look at her behavior without us being there, and then they take her to a vet and they make sure, they do X-rays, they check her out physically because guide dogs have to be 100% fit. So the number of dogs that get what we call career change, they don't make it as a guide dog, is very high. So that's why they have to have so many people, so many volunteers, and so many dogs. Well, it came Sadie's physical day, and that's the first time I didn't have Sadie for 9 months. I mean, she was by my side every single moment for 9 months. And when I had to take her in for the physical, I wasn't going to have her for a week. And I just couldn't believe how much I missed her in that week. I'm like, oh, where's my dog? So we come back in and they said, okay, she's doing her physical, she passed her physical, and the behaviors, you only have a couple of behaviors to work on. And then they give you the dreaded turn-in date at that point, and they tell you, okay, you have to turn in Sadie on this date. And your heart just drops.
Yes.
Like I only have this much more time with her. Oh my God. So we had to take her home, and we told the school, this will be Sadie's last day on campus. And immediately, like 5 people showed up and said, we're giving her a a goodbye party. And so we did a goodbye party for Sadie. You know,
What for the dog?
like wasn't my retirement, it was Sadie's. And so everybody on campus came, the trainers came, some of our fellow guide dog trainees came
They
for
gave her a
Sadie.
pocket watch.
Took pictures with Sadie. So when we had to do autographs, when I had to sign things, we call it a pawtograph, like a paw
Oh, cute.
photograph. It's very bad, but it's a very bad pun. So we had a little thing that we could put down and say "Love Sadie" or something like that. They all wanted photographs. So, and then we only had a few more. I think we had about a week with her, and it came time for turn-in date, and I just didn't know how I could do this. And so I knew I'd be crying. And so we asked a friend of ours, Noelle, if she could drive, because Mary Lou and I were going to be crying. Now, Noelle had interacted with Sadie for, those 9 months a year. And it came time to turn her in. So we went down to the Eye Dog Foundation, walked. It was the So it was the end of school. I had about a week with her. We did some of the things Scott wanted to have us do. And oh man, I said his name. You're gonna have to take that out.
Oh,
So the head guy had told us what to do with her for that last week, and it came turn-in date. And we knew we were going to be crying. We couldn't drive because we were crying, not because we were drinking. Don't drink and drive. Don't turn in your dog and drive. So, like, so Noelle came with us, and Noelle had interacted with her almost as much as we did. So I don't know why we picked Noelle. So we bring her down to the Eye Dog Foundation. I'm standing in the little foyer, and he comes up to me and he says, "Okay, it's time." I had a death grip on the leash. I could not physically let go of the leash. So he came up to me and he's like peeling my little fingers off the leash. I was like, oh, and he takes her to where the kennel is, and she turned around and looked like, oh, like the biggest betrayal. She was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh my God." So the three of us had to leave. When we got out to the car, all three of us were crying.
I was
And then
crying when you read it in your book. It's very
oh,
emotional.
very much. And so we knew at the time when we turned her in, we knew it was going to be hard. So we had booked a trip to Italy. So we turned her in that day, right
Everyone
after,
take a note that that's a very nice idea to do when you're planning to have to do some kind of heartbreak. Go have a trip planned.
go have a trip planned. So
Good thing.
we turned her in, we went home, we packed, we got up in the morning, and we went to Italy. So we went on this trip, and she was going to be in the advanced training, and the only time we were going to get to see her any time after that was on Spy Day. And Spy Day is like 3 or 4 months later, they've done all the advanced training with her, how to cross the street, how to get out of certain situations. If even to this point, if she's walking down the street with her blind person and she sees a low branch and she thinks that the tree branch is going to hit her blind person, she's taught how to bring them around that branch. And I just couldn't believe this advanced training that they do, and it's all to protect that blind person. So that was remarkable. So yeah, we left for Italy. She was in advanced training, and they didn't know when we would have Spy Day. And then Spy Day came, and it actually is like a spy movie because he picks up the phone and he goes, Donna, okay, I want you to meet you on the 4th Street Bridge
But
at
before
11
Spy
o'clock.
Day, I think in Italy you had some, I don't know if you want to call it precognition or premonitions or prayers or what would be the, I think we should describe what happened to you in Italy in
Oh, in
some of the
Italy? Okay. I,
license.
I didn't know if you wanted me to do that.
Yes, yes.
So, yeah, so in Italy, so I've been to Europe. I lived in Europe. I knew Europe pretty well, and we wanted to go to this special church. And it's just a personal thing. I don't, just people leave me alone. I'm Catholic, so, you know,
Right.
just let me be who I am. So we go to the St. Michael's Cave, and I'm sitting there in the back, and pilgrims from around the world come and they have mass every hour on the hour. And someone said, oh, there's going to be a German mass starting pretty soon, but you guys can sit here. So we're sitting here, and I'm deep in thought and prayer, and I'm praying for all my people and things like that. And I hear this voice that says, yeah, but what do you really want? Somebody was being a wise guy. I look up because I heard a voice, and I look up and no one is there. And I'm like, what? And so I'm looking around and I thought, okay, someone was being wise. So I put my head down again and I said, okay, if that was you, St. Michael, and you really want to know what I prayed for, like what I was just praying for to encounter something, if you really want to know what's in my heart, here's what's in my heart. Please have Sadie's blind person be someone that will absolutely take care of her. Because we heard some stories about some blind people, not very, like a very small percentage, but blind people that don't treat their dogs well. And I didn't want her to get this. I said, so
Right.
that's what I want. That's what I'm praying for. That somebody takes care of this dog. Okay, there.
And
So
give her a loving home for her work.
yeah. So Mary Lou was somewhere else in the cave, and she comes up to me and she goes, what are you doing? And I said, no, just sit down. There are people going to mass and communion, and we'll just sit here. And I looked up, and straight ahead of me, but the pews were facing perpendicular to me, these particular pews. And I see a fur coat on the floor, and I'm going, good Lord in heaven, who would bring a fur coat in a cave in July in Italy? Who would do this? And so I'm staring at this fur coat, wondering, what the heck? Well, the fur coat stands up.
Oh,
It's a guide dog. It's a
wow.
German Shepherd guide dog. And
In a
all
cave,
the, pardon me?
in a
In the
cave.
cave, in the cave. And the guide dog's going to take the person up to communion. What? I've been in Europe all these years. I've never seen a guide dog, ever. And I live there. I've never seen a guide dog. And I looked up and it's a German Shepherd guide dog taking this guy up, and I hear, okay, your your prayer's answered. Was that fast enough? And I went, okay, whoa, what? So we finish up and we leave the cave. And I told Mary Lou what happened. And she goes, Donna, only you would have this metaphysical thing happen in a cave in Italy, really. I said, yeah, but I don't know what to make of it because I asked for a sign that she would have a good person. Was that the sign? And we went from this cave to another town, and it was in Assisi. So St. Francis of Assisi is the patron saint of animals. So we were just doing our regular tour around the town and stuff, and we're getting tired and we're heading back, and we're talking about what happened at the cave. And Mary Lou's like, she's really good because she tends to be skeptical. She's not as, oh, that's on a cripple. She's like, okay, but let's, make sure. So we're
Very
talking about, yes. So we're talking about this and we're walking down a street and she goes, I don't know, I think I need another sign or something to believe that. And I go, oh, okay. And out from the side street comes a blind man with a German Shepherd dog, walks past us, turns and goes down another alley. And we look at each other. And I looked at her and I go, okay, was that sign good enough for you? Because like I've never seen this. So then I felt like, okay, I'm gonna take it as a sign that Sadie's gonna get a good person.
Yes. And so then you go back home to Arizona.
So we're back home. She's in advanced training and I'm teaching and, I'm trying to not have my, think about her every day. And because they told us, don't think about your dog because for that time they're bonded with you and we have to break that bond. She has to be that kind of bond with the blind person. So don't think about the dog. Well, that's like saying don't look at the elephant in the room, So I'm like, oh, okay, Sadie, don't think about me. So we go to Spy Day and I start volunteering with the Eye Dog Foundation, because I just was like, I got to do something here. And they want us to train more dogs. And I don't know if I could train another dog after Sadie. So I'm going on these trips with the head guy, and he says, Donna, there might be something wrong. And I was like, what do you mean? Her brother came up limping. And so there were 11 in her family, and they're all guide dogs in training. And so he's coming up limping, and now they're afraid genetically that that whole family, her whole siblings might be sick. So he said, something is wrong with her brother, and something might be wrong with Sadie. And I was like, oh no, not all that work. No, 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 no.
Oh,
And so about a week or so, all the timing is in the book. About a week or so, he calls up and he says, well, it's bad news. And I said, okay. Said, Sadie came up limping. No, I don't know. And we took her to the vet, and they didn't do the same test on her as they did on her brother because it's a very expensive test. And they figured, well, we'll just do this little foot drop test. And if she doesn't bring her foot back, that means she probably has spinal stenosis too. And she would have to not be a guide dog. Get a call again and said, yeah, she did not pass the test. Well, as a guide dog trainer, you get right of first refusal for the dog.
well, that's wonderful.
It really is. So, they say, Donna, would you like to own Sadie? Now, I tell people from the time I put the phone down on this is a landline, and I put the phone down on the receiver, I think I was at the Guide Dog Foundation, like split second. You know,
Like one of those cartoons. Go
yes,
through.
and he goes, okay, well, you got to wait a day or something. I can't remember when we had to pick her up, but we pick her up, and she came down, the same place that I dropped her off. And she looked at me because I kept saying, it's been like 6 months or 7 months. Is she going to remember me? Is she going to remember anything? She's gone through all this advanced training. So, and we're not supposed to have a bond. Well, she saw me and actually screamed. I swear she screamed, Mom. She's like, so I went, and I now owned Sadie. And we had to sign all the paperwork and, that we're 100% responsible. iDog Foundation is not responsible. I drive her home and pull into the garage, and I'm just crying. I'm just so grateful. Oh my God, Sadie, you're mine. I can't believe it. But you're sick, so we got a road ahead of us. So she gets out of the car, goes in the house, runs out in the backyard, and goes to this door that leads back to the garage. And I thought, oh my God, she doesn't remember. She wants to go back in the car. And so I brought her back in the house and I said, no, you're here. It's okay. You're here. She goes back to the door, runs back outside. And we do this a few times. And I said, okay, I'm going to have to take her for a ride because she obviously doesn't know where she is. Well, I opened the door and she went right to her frisbee. She did not want to go for a ride. She didn't want to go anywhere. She wanted her frisbee and her mom. So I just went, oh man, you are amazing. So we went outside and we played frisbee for about a half an hour. So I got her back.
And there was a prayer, I believe you said when you were in Italy. I believe it was in Italy of
No, it
if
wasn't. It was like she then we had her for a while, and then she didn't show any signs of the spinal stenosis.
mhm.
But one night, I was in the bedroom watching TV, and Mary Lou has this tone in her voice when she says Donna. You know, it's like a special tone that means, oh my God, something's wrong. You better put everything down and run. So I hear her at the door, and then she does that voice, Donna, and I'm like, oh my God, jump and run. And she goes, Sadie's throwing up blood. And I go out there, and she's just, she just is not well. She's not well. And so we take her off to the emergency vet because it's nighttime. And they, I'm picking her up and bring her into the vet. They take her into the surgical room, and I'm full of Sadie's blood. And I'm praying, for this dog. I'm like, you know, please, let's save this dog. And the vet tech comes in and says, it doesn't look good. Um, we have to do surgery. She's lost a lot of blood. Okay, so he leaves, and I'm just sitting there crying. I'm just like, really? After all we've been through, this is how it's going to end? Like, seriously? And I thought about my prayer in St. Michael's Cave, and I'm going, what is this? What's going on? So the tech comes back in. It's really bad. By the third time I threw him out of the room, I said, look, I'm in here doing my best to send energy to this dog for healing. And I appreciate what you're saying, but I don't come back in. Just want good news. Just don't come back in. So they come back, and the vet comes in and did the surgery and said she had something called mesenteric root torsion, which means these big chested dogs are like horses, and the mesentery of the abdomen can get twisted at the root and cut off blood supply. I mean, they die rather rapidly, throwing up blood. He goes, okay, why don't you come back at 7 o'clock? It's like 2 or 3 in the morning. Come back at 7 o'clock. Because we don't have an overnight, we don't have a daytime. No one's here in the daytime. You're gonna have to pick up your dog. And I'm like, this dog that just had surgery, I got to put in my car? Are you nuts? So we found this Dr. Val, and we come in the morning. I have to pick her up and put her in my car, take her to Dr. Val. Dr. Val has a special kennel set up for her, and she goes, Donna, there's no one here at night.
Yeah, yeah.
I said, you got to be kidding me. So I take her back to the people that are there all night, and in the morning I take her over to back to Dr. Val, and I said, "This is what's going to kill this dog." Going back and forth. I need a 24-hour emergency care, and they found Dr. Soderstrom for us, and it was 24-hour vet care. We brought her there, and it was there in the crate that I held her in my hands, crying into her shoulder, saying, God, if you could in some way get this dog to live, I promise, I swear to you, I promise, we'll do something special. But please, this dog is just too remarkable for her to die. And day by day, she got better. The vets were like, what? How's this dog? There's both vets, all the vets said there's no German Shepherd that they know of that has ever lived from having mesenteric root torsion. So this dog lived. And I said,
It was a
I'm,
miracle.
yeah, I'm in the crate with her, and I have her in my arms, and I'm crying, and I'm saying this prayer. And I hear that same voice that I heard in St. Michael's Cave. And it was like, your prayer's been answered. And I can't remember, this is like how much time has gone by. And I go, what? And I go, I can hear the prayer that I prayed, make sure she gets someone that would, why are you making me cry?
Oh,
Oh, geez. That you prayed for someone to love her and care for her, and your prayer was answered because that person was you. So
Right.
I was like, okay.
Making me cry,
I'm
okay?
telling you, I can't. 20 some years later, and I'm still crying. I can remember that moment, that very moment where I heard that voice say, your prayer was answered. And I thought the prayer was already answered, but no, the prayer was, you got her. You were the one. You were going to take care of her. And it's going to be your prayer and your love that's going to get this dog through. I was like, oh my God. So I don't know how much I'm telling like the whole book. It's
Well, no,
like,
no. So, well, then we end up. So the good news was that your prayers were answered, and she came to be with you. And then your request in the prayer that she would do something good. I think that's what we're up to now. That how this
yes,
brought you
yeah,
to, we don't have to say how many hoops you went through, but
yeah.
that idea
So
of her
yeah, I said we're going to do something good, and
another
so
career. She had another
another
career.
career. Yeah, another career. It wasn't just being in my backyard, even though we explored other things for her because she was just so intelligent that we had to do something. But now that she had this catastrophic illness, I just said we'll do something special. And so we ended up I learned about the pet therapy world. So out of the guide dog world, we go into the pet therapy world. We're doing all this training, a little bit different training. And someone said, well, you and Sadie need to go to down to this Razzie Dazzy Hospital, all the publicity and all this stuff. And someone said, I go, why? Why are all the people going there? All the publicity and blah, blah, blah. And someone said, no one will go to this hospital because it's the poor hospital. It's this hospital that no one goes to. And I said, well, that's the hospital Sadie and I are going to go to. And they're like, what? Are you crazy? I said, nope. That's St. Francis of Assisi was for the poor. And so I said, you know, that's what we're going to do. She's going to help the poor. So we go down and we get oriented and we're going to go to this hospital. And they wondered why she was so skinny. Are you abusing this dog? I just said, no, she just came out of a catastrophic illness. I would love to have her put on some weight, but so we started going down there once a week and we had to go all around the hospital. I thought, oh, this is too much for her. I don't, okay, we'll make these 3 stops. I think it was ICU and emergency and some of the other departments. And then we would go to the children. And she just like beamed when we went to the children. So after a couple of months, I said, all right, look, um, here's what I think is going to happen. Sadie and I are going to be with the kids. We're not going to any other department. This is what she loves, I can tell. And we're going to come every Wednesday. So let us do this, and we'll come every Wednesday. And we went every single Wednesday for a little over 4 years. We
I
went
know
to
you
that
never
hospital.
missed the Wednesday because when you make a commitment, there's not. I know you now. So when she says every Wednesday, they were there every Wednesday.
Every
And
single Wednesday.
so if you could tell now about the amount of, at least if you could share one or two stories
Oh my
of
goodness.
work that, occurred during these visits that you had with her, that not only was she affecting the children, but she was also then affecting the staff. So she was like, she was really touching hearts of people that didn't necessarily have an illness, but they were working there. And then she touched the hearts of children who were very sick, and some of them were dying. And I can't, just remembering what I read there makes me very emotional.
Yeah, we started working with the child life specialist, Anne Roseman. Anne was a very special lady. And it kind of evolved. At first, we were just like, what rooms do you want us to go in? And we did that for a little while. And Anne goes, well, look, why don't we do it this way? I will ahead of time, here are the kids that we want you to go to, and we don't want you to go in these rooms because these parents don't want the dog or whatever. But here's what we want you to do. So they started telling us what they wanted Sadie to do with the kids. Like, okay, this one has to get out of the wheelchair. This one has to brush her hair. This one, so we got a list ahead of time of which rooms and what they wanted to try to accomplish. Now, in the meantime, the nurses' stations and some of the doctors and the staff are like, And when you're done, can you bring Sadie over here? Because we need some Sadie love. I said, okay, we can do that. So we got our list, and one of the stories is gonna make me cry, but it's one that I just love, and that's Jose. And Jose had the same issue that Sadie did. It wasn't quite mesenteric root torsion, but he had problems with his gut and stomach. And um, very first time we visited, those two bonded like crazy. Like, okay, I guess we went down to the teen room, and Jose and Sadie went off to play, and there was me and her mom. Like, and so I told her mom about Sadie, and she told me about Jose, and we've done it. We saw him in the hospital for a long, I don't know how long, but there was a really special bond. And her mother called and said, we want Sadie to be there when the doctor talks to him tomorrow. So, okay, tell me what time we'll be there. And we're coming down the hall. The doctor looks up and sees us, and then he bends over and he says something to Jose. By the time we're walking down there, he stands up, Sadie's right there, and Jose just grabbed her and just, in his wheelchair and is shaking and crying into her shoulder. And I looked at the mom and I went, oh, this is not good news. So we hugged, and Sadie and Jose hugged. And the news was that he was going to hospice, that he wasn't going to survive this illness. And we visited, and the mom says, I will call you and let you know. We'll make sure we go to a hospice facility that'll let Sadie in. And I said, we'll be there. We will, you tell us and we'll be there. And we get out to the parking lot. I don't know how many times, Gail, I went to the parking lot with that dog in the back seat, and I just sat there and had to cry before I could drive because of what we saw with the kids. The kids were sick and dying or lost family members in car wrecks, or it just was just, I had no idea, but I was really glad we went to this hospital. They didn't have a lot of resources, so we brought resources. Sadie bought toys and stuff for the kids because it's like, okay, not only am I spending money on Sadie when she was a guide dog, I'm not spending money on my kids. It's like, it's okay. There's no better way I can think of spending money. And so she would bring toys and things for these kids. And so I'm out there. I get home, and it was either that night or the next night, the mom calls. She found a place where Sadie could go, and we were supposed to visit in the morning. And she called and said, Jose didn't make it. He died. And we want you and Sadie to come to the funeral. And if you'd say a couple of words. So we did. And, I went up there and I didn't know what Sadie was going to do. Well, this is Jose. How is she going to react to Jose? Is she going to know what the heck is going to go on here? And so she went up and she turned and sat there, and I knew she knew. She knew. And now I watch, there's Jose, there's Sadie, and I'm at the pulpit going to now do the eulogy. And I was like, okay, Lord, help me get through this. I don't even know if I can talk. And so we ended up giving Jose's eulogy, me and Sadie. So that's Jose.
And Sadie was there supporting the whole time.
Oh, she knew.
Yes.
And I must have said every single time, I mean, think about it, every Wednesday for 4 years, that's, 52 times 4, that's quite a few stories to tell.
Yes.
And, you know,
So after this sad story, which is compassionate and heartbreaking all at the same time, there were stories you wrote about that listeners are going to have to read the book to read all the other stories. But I was blown away by some of the stories where children were so traumatized because their parents were killed in a car accident, or some things that had happened with them that made them not speak because they were in shock, or they couldn't walk because their bodies were abused or in shock. And the
sure.
work Sadie did turned that around. and not quite the same as saying necessarily, it's not the sad part of the losing, it's where she really made a difference and that child benefited in a way where, reading the story about the children who didn't speak, and after when they met Sadie, they just started to speak. That's a powerful effect and a positive, you know. I mean, Jose, it was positive that he had the support of Sadie there, but then there are stories where the positive led to a happy ending.
Yeah, it's 4 years of where they began this the staff and the nursing staff and the child life staff began seeing how Sadie changed people. She would go to, like, we'd walk in a room and we were supposed to see the kid in the bed, and would just make a left-hand turn and go right to the mom, you know, and the mom would cry. I mean, she was healing parents and siblings and dog bite victims, and the work she was doing with humanity was the most remarkable thing I've ever seen. And I would just get in the car and I'd sit there and I go, I know the only reason I'm here is because I can drive, because I'm watching you do all this work. You're doing, Sadie, you just got to understand what you're doing here. And she's like, yeah, okay, yeah, I like doing this. Like, okay. So yeah, she was changing lives. She was changing hearts. There were people that didn't want her there. And, what good is a dog going to do? And they started seeing what good a dog was going to do. And they felt they were the ones that defended her the most and protected her the most. Goes, no, Sadie gets to do whatever she wants because I've seen what she's done with these kids. So there was a kid that wanted to grow up and be a, a pet therapy team like we were. Um, there was yeah, like you said, the kid won't get out of a wheelchair, and they kept going, okay, this kid's got to get out of the wheelchair. She won't get out of the wheelchair. You get Sadie to get her out of the wheelchair. And it took about a half a second to get that kid out of the wheelchair, because we were in the playroom and she's watching all these other kids play, and I've got the leash, but she goes, I want to hold Sadie, because I'd let them walk around in the room. So, but I'd held on to the leash, but it was a very long leash, and the kids would be, can I walk Sadie? And they walk her around, and they just love this dog. And so this kid in the wheelchair goes, can I walk Sadie? And I turned because I knew what they wanted. I go, you're gonna have to get out of the wheelchair, though. She jumped out of the wheelchair to get at that leash. I was like, oh my God. And she actually, I didn't put this part in the book, but they wanted us to walk a little bit more than just in a circle. So we left the playroom, and so what happens is they get the front of the leash. So the leash is attached to Sadie and they're holding on to it. But I'm in the back holding on. She's a very long dog, so it's a very long leash. So I'm holding on. I'm not going to let go of this leash. But the kid walks back to her room and her mother's on the phone. And so here's what her mother knows. She's not getting out of the wheelchair. We're going to have to do something, blah, blah, blah. So we come in the room and she's on the phone and she sees her daughter walking, not in the wheelchair. She didn't even, I don't know who she was talking to. She just put the phone down. She didn't even say goodbye, I'll call you later. She just put the phone down and went, you're walking. Oh, yeah, I'm walking Sadie. you know,
These remarkable stories, listeners, you can read when you go on Amazon and purchase Wednesdays with Sadie, the Miracle Dog, because there are so many different beautiful stories in there of the kinds of healing that this beautiful dog was able to do. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the awards, and especially her Service to Community Award, because when I was reading how many awards this dog was receiving and how much validation and attention, all I kept thinking was, this is Donna Rebadow's twin. Highly achieving, highly
um,
successful, and rewarded.
well, the director of volunteers, she did this in a sneaky way. There's something called the Hero Awards, friends and family of the shelters in Arizona, and they do this as a fundraising. And so this is their big fundraising, and there's six categories and two winners, I think, in each category. And she didn't know which category to put Sadie in because one of the categories was surviving a catastrophic illness, which she did. And then the other one was service to community, which she's doing. So, unbeknownst to me, they nominated her in those two categories. And they came back and they said, well, Sadie's won, but we're debating about which category. So they decided that the service to community might be a better category. So they came up to the when I was there on Wednesday, came up and when I finished with the kids and I was going back to Child Life, they came in and they announced to me that Sadie won the Hero Award. And I was like, oh my gosh, what does that mean? What do we have to do? And they said, well, their big fundraiser and it's at the Hilton and it's on this date and she's actually going to receive an award, but it's their big fundraiser. And I said, beautiful. So you're going to meet the person in charge. So Julie Benke comes down to the um, hospital in in a couple of weeks, and she goes, I've been waiting to meet Sadie. So she was even affecting people she didn't even know. So I've been waiting to meet Sadie. And so they did the 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 channels, the TV stations in Phoenix all did a video. Every one of them did a story on Sadie. And we got amazing feedback from, the hospital got great, you know, um, recognition. And we had to do these public service things for the Friends of Animal Care and Control. So we did. I said, okay, you know, do you want us to go here and do this public spot? We'll do that. We'll do that because it's,
She was
helping
on
animals.
TV, she was on TV and the
She's on
news.
TV. She's on
Oh,
TV. She's on the news. She's on the morning news. She's on the evening news. She's just all over the place.
she's a
And
star.
so Julie says, okay, here's when the Hero Awards are. And I said, okay, well, how many kids can I bring? Oh, kids can't be there. It's evening. It's our fundraiser. It's a whoop-de-doo at the Hilton. And I said, okay, then I guess we can't come. And she's like, what? After all this video and all this stuff. And I said, we can't come without kids. We can't come without a kid.
You're tough.
I'm, I'm just, this is what it's about, right? So, oh man, Julie was about ready to punch me out, man. She was like, what? So I don't know if she had to go back and talk to her people, and she comes back and she goes, "Okay, you can bring one kid, but we're not happy." I said, "That's okay, we're happy." So, and then we told Anne, the child life specialist, find us the best kid. So they were talking to parents. She talks to the parents, and there are two kids that want to volunteer. One was the dog bite girl, little Sally, man. She, I go, yeah. And Kent in the wheelchair. And I said, oh, they're both coming. No, you can't have two. I said, yeah, they're both coming. We're not gonna pick between the two kids and have one of them cry. What kind of person are you? Do you not understand? So they came back again and said, okay, you get two kids. Oh my God. That's it. Don't talk to us anymore. I said, okay. So we go to the Hero Awards. They've done all this video. And there's about 400 people or so there, big, all these rich guys and all this stuff. And Sally came in a princess dress. Just loved it. I go, oh, you look so good. And Ken in his nice, his wheelchair, and he's got his nice suit on. And we're at the table, and we eat, and then you have to go through all these, presentations. There's six awards, two people. It's like, okay, it's getting late. Um, Sally and Kent get up from the table. I said, "Are you leaving?" And they go, "No, no, no. We're just going to the bathroom or something." I go, "Okay." And it's getting close. We're going to be they told us Sadie's going to be the last one. Okay. We don't care. Could be first, last, whatever you want. So the Hero Awards people come over to me and says, "Okay, go. It's time for you to get up and go stand by the door with Sadie." I said, "Okay." So me and Sadie get up and go stand by the door, and Aunt comes over and she says, "How you doing? You okay? It's been a long time." I go, "What are you doing?" She goes, what I didn't know, she was standing in the way, so I couldn't see what was going on. And I'm looking at her like, "What are you doing?" What, Sadie's not tired. I'm not tired. What are you doing? She, "Well, I just want to stand here, be with Sadie." And okay. And there was a ramp on one side to go up on the stage, and there were stairs on the other side. And they said, well, we're going to put you over here by the ramp. And I said, well, Sadie can do stairs. What are the stairs? What's the ramp for? And they're like, no, it's just nothing. Just one side's a ramp and one side's a stairs. Don't worry. I'm not worried. I was just curious. What the heck? And they're like, okay, so just stand over there. Because what's coming is this big surprise, and I don't know this. And
Yes.
so they call Sadie's name, and then they're going to show the video. So they show this video, and I could already hear people crying because of the work she was doing. And so I start over by the ramp, and Anne doesn't come. And I'm like, what? You know, so I'm kind of like, what is going on? So meanwhile, Sadie's just walking toward the ramp. And as we get to the bottom of the ramp and we're going to come up, on stage is Sally. And out she comes from behind the dais. And I go, I thought Sally was in the bathroom. What's she doing? You know, what's she doing up there? Oh my God. And then Kent comes out and they turn toward us. And of course, Sadie sees them. And what is she going to do? So she's pulling me off the ramp. And so I'm going, what's happening? You know? And so Kent had a bouquet of flowers on his lap. And Sally had the hero award in her hands. And Kent says, now people can hear this. Kent says, these flowers are from all the kids, all of Sadie's kids, for thanking you and Sadie for coming up every Wednesday. You know, and I'm like bawling my eyes out. They're going, oh my God. So I have to take the bouquet. Then, meanwhile, Sadie's in a sit. I didn't even put her in a sit, and she's front of Sally, and I know she wants to lick Sally's face. And the parents are down at the table, and I know if she goes near Sally's face, her mother's going to come up and punch me because her dog bite was in her lip. But Sadie did not try to kiss her, but she put her head down so Sally could put the hero award on her. And I was like, who taught you that? I mean, where are you coming from, dog? And so we're supposed to turn around and walk down it's like a T-shaped stage, and we're up on the front and we have to walk down this little T area. And as I'm walking down, I'm crying. Everyone, 400 people, cameramen, all the people stand up and they start cheering and clapping. And I look out and there's men crying. There's men, you know, I can't, when men cry, I just lose it anyway. So these big men are just crying their eyes out. They're clapping. And I'm just trying to go, what the heck just happened here? They fooled me. Those little whippersnappers, you know, to make sure we got that Kent gave me the roses and that Sadie got the hero award from Sally. And I don't even remember which way we got off the stage or anything. We all are back at the table and they're laughing. My table's laughing and I'm going, you did that on purpose, right? Yeah, we pulled it off. Yeah. You had no idea, did you? And I go, and she goes, yeah, you had no idea. And Sally and Ken are laughing and oh man.
They pulled one over on Donna, and it's not easy to do.
They were so happy. They were
I
happy to be the kids on the stage. It was such a beautiful event to show Sadie and her kids. Yeah.
and I just wanted to bring up to our listeners, there were different stories, and you didn't include all of them, but the fact that this dog, Sadie, could heal Sally, who had been bitten in the face by their own home dog pet. And that is a very traumatic experience. So for a dog to be able to heal a person of a dog trauma is, I think, exceptional. And she seemed to receive Sadie immediately and was not
Immediately.
filled with fear. And I really think that you don't need more evidence than that to know that Sadie was an incredible, miraculous healing energy for anyone that she touched or who was around her. And you got to be her mom and or sister or whichever position you would like, there was a deep connection. And I think that when I hear everything that you've gone through, I feel like the eye training dog companies or places should have some special thing for the people that train the dogs and have to give them up after they pour their heart and soul and money and energy and time and everything to give a dog so that they can help another human being. The whole circle of all of it is just such a compassionate experience. And this leads me to ask you, did you and Mary Lou ever decide to do any more dog training after that? Or was that too much of a I'm just wondering how you healed with Sadie. I know you got to have 13 wonderful years together with ups and downs of care that you had to give her, and you were devoted and loving and caring and met with her every need. And I'm wondering how you were able to heal after that.
We trained 3 more dogs.
Wow, you're incredible. Plus working jobs at the same time.
And working. And the hardest part of doing that was Sadie had to stay home when I took the other dog out. Sadie was at home with me. We retired from the hospital. It was hard for her to walk on the vinyl floors and jump on the beds, and so we retired a second time. So we had a retirement party. They said all the nurses were like, "We're gonna do a retirement party. We're gonna do the whole thing," and they prepared for it. Oh my God, they were so proud, and they made a book, and they had cake, and they had stuff for Sadie, and I'm like, well, you got to remember, like we bought a Polaroid camera and film so the kids could have a picture with Sadie, and she'd autograph that picture for them. And so the kids drew. There's so much not in the book. We have tons and tons of mementos from the kids writing and coloring and little
Is
stories from them, and they're just it was not just at the retirement party, but kids would write thank you notes and all this time, and it was just when it came time to retire, that was tougher for me than Sadie because I knew she couldn't do that work anymore. So yeah, I trained.
and did
Well,
you
Sadie went to work at a hospice facility after that because they had carpet on the floor.
uh
And Anne from the Child Life got a job at the Alzheimer's unit and said, "Okay, we're getting this dog." So she got Sadie to come to the Alzheimer's, but Sadie just didn't have the heart in it for the Alzheimer's. Because of the nature of the type of people there and how they move and how they um, maneuver. And so she retired from that, and I said, "No parties, no parties, please." So
she
Anne gave us a little
children,
token
and
from.
then she went on to do hospice and seniors.
Yes,
So
that's what I'm talking. That's what I mean. The hospice, the
right, and she was
Alzheimer's unit.
becoming
Yeah,
a senior herself.
yeah, she was, you know, yeah. And then of course the ending of the story is one I can't talk about.
No, no, we don't have to talk about that part. We just want to talk about the fact
Yeah,
that she had an
yeah.
incredible retirement party and that she gave service for so many years. And she was an amazing dog that brought comfort and healing to those all around her. And you've had many dogs then, since, some that are your own, some that you've trained, but I bet none of them held a candle to Sadie.
No, I love Cinnamon and Kalia. I love my dogs. I do. It's like kids, you love all your kids. There's just
Yes.
there's one that steals your heart, and that's Sadie. Yeah, she was amazing, sweetheart.
Well,
Still doing work on the other side.
yes. Well, I want to, I want to thank you for sharing this amazing story with us. We're a little bit over our hour of talking, and this is where I like to ask uh, whether there's anything you would like to share. I'm not going into all the other topics that we have because Well, I'd just like to talk a quick little bit about
Okay.
one last thing. The
Okay.
fact that you're turning spoons, since we did spoon bending on our last show,
Yep.
I was wondering if we could finish off with uh what it is that you're doing lately with this amazing jewelry making and what you've been doing with all the spoons that you've bent. We know you've bent hundreds of spoons and forks, and we know that you've taught or showed or shown other people to do the same. And now, when you go on the website, you'll see all these amazing pieces of jewelry that are like art pieces that have originated from, the bending of a spoon. So I have one of the spoons right here that you and I did together on the show, which just looks like a spoon. But now, I don't know if you have one in front of you, but right now they're turning into
Oh,
pieces
I
of
should
art.
have brought one. Yeah, a friend of mine said, would you please turn your spoons into art? And I'm like, really? Because this,
Can you show us one of the spoons that you've been working on lately?
so I don't know if you can see it, but it's
Looks like a sugar
so
skull.
this is a sugar skull,
Yes,
and underneath it is powdered brass, but the wrapping is on it because when you pull the wrapping off, it can scratch easily, but that's purple underneath. So that'll be purple brass on the sugar skull. And up here are yin yang, little pictures of yin yang.
beautiful. Oh, those are great.
And
So
this
was
is,
that a spoon you bent or that someone sent you?
I bent this.
Okay,
Yeah, I bent it. It's kind of got a
beautiful.
little, a very nice sloping bend. And this one is commissioned. Someone commissioned me to do 3 spoons for them.
It looks like a
So
blue tinge or something. It's a very
it
beautiful.
is. It's a rainbow. It
Yeah,
has purple and blue. It's rainbow colored. And I tried to match. I'm pulling this off because I have to
right. Attach it.
attach it. But that's what I do. I bend them and then they talk to me, let me know what they want, and I
That's
make them a spoon.
wonderful. Have you ever done a fork into any type of art? Or
Yes, yes. I'm sorry. The my most magnificent fork has gone away to a friend of mine. Tracy has that fork, and it's quite. There's a couple of things I wanted to say about the book and the spoons. Is that um, people that have bought the book, some very interesting things have happened to them when they
Mhm.
read the book. So Sadie's even doing the work through the book. And one of my friends who actually got that spoon for, I mean, the fork with the feathers, said she was bitten by a dog as a young child. And just reading Sadie's book and what happened to Sally has cured her of her fear of large dogs.
That's wonderful. Very
Okay.
wonderful.
And so some synchronicities have happened to people reading that book. So there's that magical energy. And then people that receive the spoons have said the same thing, that the energy from the spoons, because I have them, I work out of my bedroom because it's a small house. So I have a bedroom and it has all kinds of healing um, pieces of, I have healing pieces in my room. So I have created a vortex of energy in my room so that when I make these, I know that they're not only have the energy of myself in the bend, but they have all that vortex energy. So actually the spoon is for my son, Rod. He's my adopted son. And Rod said, I already gave him one and he wanted 3 more. And he's a shaman in training. So I'm doing this for him. And he said, oh, what a sacred spoon. And so that's what I call the company, Sacred Spoons, because to
Right.
me, the healing energy of God, the creator of the universe, is made this material. I just made this material.
Well, I want to let our listeners know that when Donna's saying she's making these pieces in a room where there's a lot of healing energy, uh, in the 4 or 5 days that I stayed there, I felt the best that I have not felt as good as I felt in those 5 days since I was there, and I believe that was in July.
Yes.
So now it is let's see, this will be November, and I have not had that same feeling in my body of complete whole wellness like I felt being in that home. So when she's creating those spoons and saying she's creating them in a healing environment, I'm a testimony to say that that is absolutely true. So
I
the
think,
people receiving your spoons
yeah.
will be feeling the energy that's coming from you, from your space, into this metal object that's created into art.
Yeah, all of them have said when they've opened the box, there's one of my person said they almost fell down.
Oh gosh. Well,
It's okay.
when I received this and put it on, I felt like I'm being protected.
You are being
Just
protected. That's
feel
the
like I just have to, I sleep with it. I just leave it on all the time.
well, when I know the people and know what their heart and their intentions are, and when we were in Colorado and I protected the elk, you mentioned, boy, I'd like to be protected like that. So I remembered that. So I put that healing into that airport for you.
Well, you
So
did a
you
beautiful
feel,
job.
you
Message
could feel,
received.
okay. Says you will protect
Yes.
Kale in all times. Yeah.
So
The,
I
the
love
only other, go ahead.
I love being here with you today, and I just like that whatever comes to you for our closing, whatever you would like to share, people know they can go to your website, they can find out about the spoons, they can purchase the book, they can find out about remote viewing and many other subjects. What else would you like to share before we end our show today?
Well, I'm working on another book, and I know it's really more like a scientific paper
Mhm.
and then an essay on the reason I'm here in Denver is for one particular person. So I have one patient, actually in their family, so however many in their family. And they had been 2.5 years ago, were given the diagnosis of ALS. And so we had come up to Denver and I needled him for a week and he got better and came back up the next month, needled him and got better. So I said, well, we need to buy a house and move to Denver because obviously the acupuncture is working and it's now 2.5 years later, no leg braces, no wheelchair. They many of the people that came in with him are passed away and he got so much better they took him off the diagnosis of ALS, which doesn't happen. So we're going to write a scientific paper so people know what acupuncture points and what we were doing, and then an essay talking about how they felt, you know, how they've been treated by the medical establishment, and they're now swimming. So we did some research on some vitamins that might help, and there's something called NT factor, and we bought vitamins and he started taking them in June and we had to go back to Phoenix. But when we got a phone call at the end of June, they said, I'm swimming. Now, if that's not miraculous, I'm not sure what is. But I think what's happening is when you have a near-death experience and you have a conversation with the creator of the universe, God, the creator of the universe, most NDEers come back with something. And so I feel as if through me, not me, through me, um, I'm getting a lot of this kind of, um, gosh, I don't even want to say, kind of, it's kind of healing,
Yes.
you know. So I just, look for that. I'm not sure when it's going to take a long time because it's been 2.5 years and I needle them just about every day. That's a lot of data and information.
Just for any of you who are listening, she doesn't mean she needled him by driving him crazy. She was sticking pins in him as acupuncture.
Well, probably both.
Yes, and I also want to say that the family member she's speaking about, I had the pleasure of meeting when I was there when he came in for a treatment. And when he himself turned to me and said, Gail, my doctors told me take a trip to Hawaii, go with your family. It's the last trip you'll be able to go on. Say, say what you need to say with them. Get your papers in order. It's only going downhill from here, and you should just go enjoy your family's time together one last time. Well, that same man, 2.5 years later, never missed a day of work, looked as vibrant and energetic. In fact, I wished I could have been as flexible as he was in the house, jumping up and down, and was just a glowing being. and he will not miss his visits with Donna. And he is really grateful and appreciative for everything that she has done for him, or through her, however we want to speak it.
Yes.
I saw the results that she is talking about. So I'm really glad you're going to be writing a book and paper on this, because the world should know about other forms of healing that have truly worked. And these things get lost. And sometimes people don't share it. And it's so important for everyone to hear this story.
Yeah, I think
Amazing
that's where
lady.
being what?
I said you're an amazing lady, Donna, and I've seen the results.
Well, thank you for that. But it's yeah, it's I know who I am in front of God, so it's very humbling, and it's His. Yeah, my teacher said the only thing you can say thank you for is that you studied. It's the only part you can take credit for.
And you're a
You
good
know,
student. You're a good student.
I studied and I know where to put the acupuncture needles. So, thank you, thank you.
Any idea when you think this book might come out?
No, no, because we're just starting it.
Okay,
So there's a lot of data. So we're just going. Mary Lou and I are just going through the data to see. We're taking NIH, the National Institute of Health, did a protocol, acupuncture protocol for an ALS patient. That's the template that we used. So we're going to take that same paper that they did with her, and we're going to just plug in the information for Jack. That'll be the scientific paper.
great.
But I don't want that to get lost, like you said. So we want to do an essay which really tells his story of what he felt when he was told by a pulmonologist, "How would you like to die?" I mean, no one should ever hear that. How would you like to die? Really? I mean, I know what's going on in the world. I get that. I get all of what's happening, but this is the one person that I'm working with. And so I want his voice to come through in the essay. And then if they feel, if their family feels um, not strong enough, but if they feel like they're being called to the book, then I told them I would just help you write the book, but the book needs to come from them,
Mm,
what they've gone through, and I mean, from looking for houses with wheelchairs, they told him he'd be in a wheelchair by that Christmas. So the diagnosis was 2.5 years ago, and I said, well, by Christmas you'll be in a wheelchair. We have pictures of him up on the roof doing the Christmas lights. We said, don't do that. don't don't do that.
don't fall.
Do that again. No, you can't do that. But from his perspective of being told that, and what he's gone through, and I don't know if he's a very private person, so I don't know if that story will get told. But at least we'll have the scientific paper and the essay. So
That's just, I know you're retired, but I don't really
I'm
think
retired.
you're retired from anything. You're
I
just
think I'm
what
retired.
he did, career changes.
Oh yeah, like Sadie, of course. Just career changed.
Exactly. And
Have all the
you'll get more awards.
Oh, thank you, my dear friend. You
Yeah,
are such a dear. You guys, you got to understand this podcast and just I'm so glad that Gail has done this podcast and had the people. I listen to her podcast all the time. I can't wait till the next one comes out. It's like a service that she's doing and what her life has been and what she's offering in service. I can say the same thing about Gail.
well, that's very kind and sweet of you. I want our listeners to know, if you could please tell them exactly. Oh, here comes Bruno. Um, you have a podcast also that you had on hold for a little while
Yeah,
because you were finishing this book. And I was
right.
wondering if you could just tell our listeners the name of your podcast and when it will be. I know that on the website they can go and see past shows, but
Yeah.
when will you be starting up again and interviewing and having new guests?
That's a great question. The website is exploreconsciousness.com, and the podcast is Exploring Consciousness with Donna. And I will start up at the beginning of the year when we get back from Phoenix, and I'll start up with new guests. And I think there's 212 podcasts just sitting there waiting for you to listen to, something like that, or
Wow.
100 or 200, I don't know, a couple hundred. And so we'll start up with the podcast because no, I do sleep. I
I,
do
I,
sleep.
I was there. I saw that you slept.
See,
I
I
didn't
sleep,
believe it, but
sleep, I read, I do other things, but I just don't have a downtime. You
no.
know, don't watch much TV. I don't, yeah, so.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being here today. I hope our listeners enjoyed our conversation as much as I enjoyed being here with you.
Oh,
I
pleasure's mine.
I look forward to our next podcast, whether I'm on your show or you're on mine. We
You're
have
on my show next. You're on my show next.
all right, so we have a continued future here together.
Yep.
And I want to thank our listeners for
Thank you.
subscribing and listening and commenting and sharing. I'd like to say thank you to my daughter Nancy for posting our shows and my son Richard for producing the show. And I want to also say, remember, just like today, sharing stories that heal can do so much for so many. And we want to thank you and have a wonderful, wonderful week. And we'll see you at our next episode. Have a great day and be well. Bye.
Wow.